Okay, it's 9 o'clock, so I know we'd like to start. Good morning, everyone. I just want to welcome you to this week's Downtown Download. I'm Downtown Partnership President Shalonda Stokes, joined as always by the phenomenal Councilman Eric Costello, who you will hear from in just a minute. We're excited about this morning's show and glad you could all be here with us. You know, Baltimore is blessed to not just have two great professional sports stadiums, but two world-class organizations behind professional sports teams. And a few weeks ago, we spoke with the front office of the Orioles, and today we are here with the leadership from the Baltimore Ravens. So excited to be here today. You could see from all of our purple, we went away from our traditional yellow to make sure that this segment represented. This town bleeds purple and orange unconditionally, but the pandemic is making it a little bit harder on fans and players that we root for. So like every other league, the NFL is adjusting to COVID-19. And just yesterday, they had to make the tough call and announce that their first few games will be played without fans in M&T Bank Stadium. And so I know you have questions. We already started getting questions. And Dick, I know before I talk to you, I want to tell you, we do had questions that came in from one of the Ravens' #1 fans. Esther Corbett started sending things to me at 5:30 this morning, questions, to make sure that she got it in, and told me that she's sitting in her lawn with the big projection screen. She was out at 6 a.m. to get the Lamar Jackson cover for the game. And so all of that is in play. I just want you to know. So we want to make sure we know how this change, affects the players, the league, everything, how it affect team finances, how do the Ravens keep engaging their fans? I mean, this is all a part of the culture and what makes Baltimore, Baltimore. So there's just some themes that we'll discuss this morning with our guests. We have you, the president, Dick Cass, and the phenomenal Heather Darney, I know Vice President of Community Relations, which I know your job is even more hectic these days. So I invite everyone to join the conversation by posting questions that they may have in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. We will get to them towards the end of the program. As we always do, I'll transition it to Councilman Eric Costello. He will do a Q&A with our panelists today, and then we'll come back and I will ask the questions from the attendees from the audience later in the show. So I invite you to stay in touch with Downtown Partnership as we repurpose our streets and help downtown businesses during this public health economic challenge. Hopefully you've been able to experience our parklets. Those are extending parking spaces into neighborhoods. We're helping transform as much of the space as we can. And just this past weekend, the Bromo Arts District began the installation of a design for distancing experience in the Stewart's Lot. That's on Lexington Street in conjunction with the BDC, the Neighborhood Design Center, a Market Center, and PIKL Studios. So please check all of this out, Councilman. I know you have some more to give us on that space, but I want to remind everybody you can go to godowntownbaltimore.com for more information on what's happening downtown. So Councilman Costello, I'm gonna transfer it over to you.
Thanks, Shalonda. We're pretty light on city updates today. The executive order for Mayor Young is still in place, so there's been no changes on that front. As you mentioned, there's a number of local area restaurants that have parklets. Would encourage everyone to patronize those restaurants in downtown, as well as our neighbors to the north in Mount Vernon. There's a few parklets on the 800 through 1300 blocks of North Charles Street, as well as the 200 block of West Reed Street. So you'll see those starting to pop up this week. The only government related I have, so as of right now, the election is going to be in person, but you may request a absentee ballot or a mail-in ballot. Maryland is a state where you do not need justification or cause for that, meaning you don't have to have a note from your doctor saying that you can't make it to the poll. All you have to do is fill out this form that I put in the chat window. I would encourage everyone to do that as soon as possible. There have been obviously a number of reported issues with consistency of USPS service, so make sure you get your ballot early. And with that, Shalonda, I'll turn it back to you before we get started.
Thank you so much. Just want to remind everyone to put your questions in the Q&A box if you can throughout the program. I see we're starting to get some already. So Councilman Costello, I think that's all we have on this end. If we can begin with our Q&A, that would be great.
Absolutely. Dick, Heather, thank you so much for being here with us this morning. We know how busy both of you are, so we really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So I want to start chronologically, and let's start with Heather. So it's early 2020. Unfortunately, the Ravens are coming off a really tough playoff loss. What does the offseason look like for you? How do you keep fans engaged throughout the winter?
Good morning. So yeah, I mean, anytime I think that you come off a loss, and certainly a tough loss, like we had the Titans, it stings a little bit. You know, we're not going to sugarcoat that. And I think there's 31 teams in the NFL that are going to come away with a little bit of that sting from a season, unless you're hosting the Lombardi at the end of it all. So I think it takes a little bit of time, you know, just to kind of reflect and, you know, just kind of, you know, be able to take it. I know the guys take a lot of time off, you know, kind of right at the end of the season. They need to regroup both, you know, physically and mentally. But not long after that, I mean, we really start to kind of jump in and we start planning ahead, you know, on the football side. I mean, we are knee deep into preparing for, you know, the draft and free agency and the start of the new, you know, NFL calendar, which begins in early March for us. You know, on the fan side, I mean, we're constantly looking at ways to engage with fans year round. I mean, that's not something that just happens in season. That's something that, you know, we're planning generally in a normal year, you know, planning events, you know, around the draft and planning events, you know, to kind of get people excited once, you know, OTAs start and off-season conditioning starts. And so, you know, we're constantly working on that stuff. And we're continuing to stay connected, you know, into the community. And our foundation, we do a lot of work with our foundation in the off season. So the Ravens Foundation, we have a scholarship program where we allow high school seniors to apply and provide college scholarship funding. So all of that's happening in the off season, and, you know, recognizing outstanding teachers and just things like that. So I think, you know, for us, we definitely have a year round full, robust calendar. And that includes obviously football stuff and on the field activities. It includes off the field activities. But I mean, it's not something that we take too much of a break from. There really isn't an off season as so many people. My favorite question is, so, you know, what do you do in the off season? I mean, you must, you know, have all this free time, and that's not the case. You know, but I think it's, you know, it's just a really great thing to see, you know, the fact that there is such a commitment, you know, to staying engaged all year long, because that's something that we need too. You know, we hope our fans enjoy it and look forward to it, but it's important for us and our players for sure to stay connected. So we do quite a bit to ensure that.
So I've read somewhere that if you're looking for a case study on why good teams stay good in professional sports, look no further than the Ravens 2020 draft class. I think I saw that on ESPN. It certainly doesn't seem like we're going to lose any momentum from the playoff season last year. Dick, how does the organization grade the draft? I think we had 10 picks, including 4 third rounders, and a very impressive first round pick with Patrick Queen out of LSU. How do you grade that class?
We were very, very happy at the time of the draft. I mean, it really fell. You know, sometimes it's a bit of luck. You need the draft to sort of fall your way. And this was a year where people were on the board at the time we were picking that actually filled a real need. And we try to take the best person available, but it's especially good when the best person available fills a real need. And that was the case of Patrick Queen. In the second round, when we got Dobbins, the running back, that's not a position we were looking to fill, but he was by every measure, at least on our board, he was the best guy available. We had to take him, and we did, and everyone's incredibly happy with him. You know, then in the third round, we had 4 picks. Eric did a lot of wheeling and dealing and managed to get 4 picks in the third round. So we sort of dominated the third round and picked up a lot of guys who are going to help us this year. I mean, the 10 players we picked will be on the team this year, I mean, barring injury. And they've all looked good in training camp. Coaches and scouts are happy with them. So we felt really good about the draft at the time. I think we feel even better about it today, because that's not, you you don't really know for sure what type of player you're going to get. And we obviously won't know for certain until this year is over and they've had a full season with us. But right now, based on the weeks of training camp we've had, we're very, very happy with the draft class. You will see all of them on the field, I think, at some point this year, and a lot of them are going to make very significant contributions.
Dick, I know you're not going to pick favorites, but which one would you say was the biggest steal of the draft, just in terms of where you were able to select them?
Yeah, it's really hard because, I'm not talking about myself or our scouts, but I'm talking about how the pundits saw it. And there was one guy who said, we got to steal in almost every round. I mean, even the 7th round, Geno Stone, a safety from Iowa, I mean, he's a really, really good player. And for him to be there in the 7th round and for us to have an opportunity to pick him, that was really great. James Prochet, the guy we picked in the 6th round, the wide receiver return guy, he's looked great. He's going to make a contribution this year. So I don't want to pick any one guy, but I always think of the guys in the later rounds. That's where we've really made some really important picks there in recent years. Look at Matt Judon, who's a 5th round pick. Chuck Clark is a 6th round pick. Deshaun Elliott, who may well start opposite Chuck as safety, he's a 6th round pick. And those are good players in the 6th round. Matt Judon is a Pro Bowl player. So we've done very well late rounds, and that's been one of the keys to our success, I think.
That's great. We're really excited to see all these guys take the field this year. So moving forward chronologically, now it's April. You're coming off this great draft that you just talked about, Dick. But as we all know, the world is changing and the country is knee-deep in COVID-19 pandemic and all the shutdowns that we're experiencing. What were you thinking about the season at this point? When did the teams and the NFL start discussing contingency plans for the season?
Well, I think we really started discussing it in early March. We shut down as an organization on March 13. We were not deemed an essential business, so we actually the whole building shut down. No one came into the building. And as you may recall, the draft was remote, so none of us was together for the draft. We were all at our houses during the draft, and that continued for a while after that. And our off-season program with our players usually begins in April, late April, late April. This year, because of COVID-19, we did not have an off-season program here in Owings Mills, but we arranged for a remote program. So we did strength and conditioning remotely, and we did classrooms remotely for the players to put in new wrinkles on the offense and the defense. And so we had an off-season program, but it was done remotely. But on the business side, and none of the coaches came to the building, none of the scouts came to the building during that time. We really didn't come back into the building until the week before training camp. And so that was July. So we had a very, very unusual off-season. It was really true of every team in the league. I think we did a particularly good job, I like to think, in keeping our players engaged remotely. I mean, it's not easy to do strength and conditioning programs remotely with a lot of people. And we had classrooms every day for offense, defense, and for special teams. So it was a tremendous effort, I think, done successfully. One of the advantages we had over other teams is continuity. We have the same head coach, obviously, and our coordinators are with us again this year. So we're not changing our offensive and defensive schemes. And we have a core group. We're a very young team now in many ways, particularly on offense. But most of the guys played key roles with us last year and are back. So with that continuity, both on the field and from the coaching standpoint, I think helped us dramatically. And the few additions we've made this offseason so far have turned out great. Calais Campbell and Derek Wolf on the defensive line. I mean, Calais Campbell was NFL Man of the Year last year, meaning that he was, of all the players in the league or active in the community, he was selected number one as the best guy off the field for the league last year. And fortunately, he's with us this year. And it used to be when you were a Ravens fan, you look out on the field and there was one head that was above everyone else, and that was Jonathan Ogden, because he's 6'8", and you could just see that big head and that big helmet. And he was, you know, he looked like a big man standing next to guys who were 6'5". Well, that's the physical specimen that Calais Campbell is as well. It's so strange to look out there and to see this great big man who's so much taller than everyone else in the defensive line. It's pretty extraordinary. And I know whenever we played him, he just killed us. So we're very happy to have him on our side. And Derek Wolf is going to be great. And then another player we picked up, Fluker, DJ Fluker, offensive lineman. He's looking very good. Again, a very, very large person who is going to make a great contribution this year, I think. So all those guys participated in the off-season program, and we got here in July. We were ready to go. The building looks very different. When we arrived, we had to, we negotiated protocols with the union, safety protocols. So when you come into our area now, you'll see a big tent on front of the building, which we had to expand the dining room to give us more room for physical distancing in the dining room. Then there's a big trailer out front, which is a testing trailer. Beginning when we first all came back, we didn't all come back. There's about 80 players in the building and 100, little over 100 staff in the building. So about half of our normal staff is here in the building now. Everyone else is working remotely. And people in tiers 1 and 2, players and people like me and the coaches and the scouts and trainers and equipment guys we get tested every day. And so it's very unusual. The dining room is now filled with single tables, small little tables with one chair. And each table is 6 feet apart from the next table. It's not a very social situation. Our dining room used to be like a high school dining room. Little groups would sit together and they'd have 5 and 6 together, and but now it's just one person sitting at one table in one chair. So it's very different. The cafeteria line is gone. You have to point at your food and they'll hand you a box with the food in it. The locker room is physically distanced. We put glass partitions between lockers. The meeting rooms are physically distanced. We can't meet as a team. We don't have a room big enough, so we meet in 3 separate rooms tied together by video. So it's different, but it's working very well. I think I read a stat somewhere that around the entire NFL since, and I don't remember the date, I think it was since August 10 or something, there have been no positive tests. So our players are taking this very seriously, as is the staff. So we're hoping that will continue, and I think it will. There's a real commitment. We all know that if we don't test negative, we're going to have serious problems. That we have a T-shirt for everything. The T-shirt of the day says "Stay positive, test negative." So that's the mantra this week. Actually, been the whole training camp.
Well, it sounds like you all have adapted well, and certainly second what you said about Jonathan Ogden. I remember the first time meeting him and shaking his hand, and I thought he was going to pull my hand off. But a wonderful human being. Yep, with a smile, a wonderful human being who's done a lot for Baltimore. But I remember thinking, I've never seen a person this big in my life.
No.
So Dick, you're not prone to bragging, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but the Ravens are considered one of the best organizations in professional sports. And that's really for good reason. There's a lot of talent and longevity in the front office, from ownership to yourself, GM Eric DaCosta, and down the line. Coach Harbaugh has been one of the longest tenured coaches with the same team in the NFL. What lessons about management philosophy or business practices can you share with our audience?
Well, it starts with Steve Bisciotti. I mean, he sets the culture for the organization. He's a leader who believes in trying to pick the right people and letting them do their thing. One of the things he's always stressed, and we try to adhere to here, is open communication. We don't believe only in vertical communication, meaning if you're in a chain of command, you got to report to the person right above you. We try to, what I'd like to call horizontal communication, where anybody can come into my office and I don't have to, Heather doesn't report directly to me, but she can come talk to me anytime she wants. And the people she reports to are not going to get upset by that, and we try to promote that. But the continuity has really served us well here. I mean, I think it's, you know, when we're in a situation like COVID-19 or any kind of crisis we face, whether it's with a player or a situation or a condition, you know, we've been together a long time. We know each other well. We have our disagreements, but we talk about them and we work it out. And it's just, and it's a culture that's been like that for a long time. It's one we intend to maintain. I mean, it's we're all focused on one thing primarily, and that is to win football games, and that's what our goal is. And we try to always remember, okay, how is this going to help us win games? Now, some of it is generating revenue, of course. Some of it is, but a lot of it is just, you know, we spend money on what's important, and we agree that we need to spend money to win football games, and so we do that. And we don't have a lot of disagreements, and that's in part because of the culture we've set up here, but also there's a purpose. Everyone knows it. I would say our secondary goal that everyone's bought into as well is to be a positive force in the community. So you'll see guys like John and Eric will help us out in the community, and when we need a public service announcement, we did 2 public service announcements this week, one on voter registration and one on wearing a mask. And you know, the players took the lead on those, but they were encouraged by John and others and me and others to do it because they know it's important. It's what we do around here. So that's an important thing. But I have to say that's a secondary goal. Our principal goal is to win football games.
Well, Dick, for that being a secondary goal, the Ravens are certainly succeeding. In shifting gears on that note, Heather, the organization, its coaches, the players, as Dick mentioned, and as we all know, are incredibly active in our community. Everyone's been generous about donating both time and funding to local schools and charity organizations. For example, there was an incredible project that the Ravens played a very large role in, the renovation of a high school in my district, Renaissance Academy, a couple of years ago. Heather, can you talk a little bit about how COVID-19 has affected that work and how you all are creatively adapting to it?
Of course. So, I mean, yeah, as Dick mentioned, everything that we do is focused first and foremost on how we can win, because that we are a football team. But we also know that being a football team and an NFL team, and especially here in a community like Baltimore, we have such a privilege of being able to help and strengthen and embrace our community. And so we really put a big priority on various ways that we can do that. They just put up just a little quick kind of one-sheeter that just really kind of touches on some of the numbers that we, we take great pride in. And it's something that doesn't come easy. And this isn't something that, happens overnight. I mean, there's a consistent dedication that our team has had to the community since we got here with Art Modell back in '96. So it's something that we continue to build off of. And it's something that everybody's bought into. As Dick mentioned, Eric and John, I have coaches that will ask me, throughout the week, typically we capitalize on the players' day off when we try to do our community efforts, again, working around football and making sure they have the time to focus on that. But really they have a weekend that they put into one day, Monday, and they're coming off of a game normally on Sunday. And then we're there to say, hey, why don't you come to a school with us and see some kids? And hey, why don't you help us to, hand out gifts for the holidays or visit some people in the hospital? And so, we're kind of really asking them to take their free time to spend with us in the community. And our guys are incredible with it. As you can see, we had 98% of our players out at community events last year. And we'll have coaches that ask us, hey, Heather, who was out there this week? Did you have any of my guys? Did you have, because they know that it's important. And so our guys see that and they're bought into it. And I think it's an incredible piece, because I do believe that part of, kind of being a Raven is having the mindset of how, we can better our community. So we just we have some incredible guys already on our team. You know, Dick mentioned Calais Campbell, who I cannot wait to make my new best friend, but he is just an incredible leader in the community. And having guys like that in the locker room, which we do, allows other guys and the younger guys to see the importance. And it shows in some of these numbers. You know, I mean, we have some incredible initiatives. You've talked about big projects like our Renaissance Academy renovation. We invest a lot in Baltimore City schools. We just really feel like that is an area, and those students are just so incredible, and we want to make sure we can help. And a lot of our guys really love working with the students. So we've made HVAC renovations in the past as part of some of our social justice efforts. You know, we've done school renovations. You know, we have scholarship programs like I talked about. We have an incredible bookmobile program that we run with the Maryland Book Bank. We actually have 2 bookmobiles now because the program's been so successful. But essentially it rides around to Baltimore City elementary schools and allows the students to get onto the bookmobile, and they can take as many books as they want for free to build up their home library. And the books that the book bank receives as donations help to kind of continue to fill that bookmobile. And we try to get Poe on there as much as possible to visit kids. So, you know, just continuing that. We really, really try to build off of that. And then in addition to that, we also really kind of put a lot of financial investments in our community. And that truly begins with Steve and the leadership that we have. But, you know, we're not afraid to make that financial commitment, you know, whether it's through large donations. You know, COVID, I know obviously is something that has come about that, you know, we immediately began saying, okay, what is it that we can do to help? I mean, we were very busy right off of the bat of everything being shut down, of, you know, making sure we could help, you know, kids who normally get fed at schools. We wanted to make sure that they were able to still receive meals and receive funding for that. The Maryland Food Bank is a big partner of ours, and we wanted to make sure that they were able to be a great resource to our community and somewhere where we can encourage people to go to get help. You know, I mean, we helped with allowing our stadium, the Maryland Stadium Authority opened up some of the stadium space for organizations like the Salvation Army to go out to meet there, and then to go out and hand out food to really kind of a lot of dislocated seniors, but the seniors who really needed some support, who couldn't get out, who couldn't get to the grocery store. Those seniors, we were able to, the Salvation Army had an incredible program that was able to just go deliver meals to their front doorsteps. And so we wanted to help and made a financial commitment to that. So, you know, I mean, that type of stuff, when an opportunity arises, you know, we really just try to say, okay, our community is counting on us to be there for them, and we're going to step up and do it in a variety of ways. And we're constantly looking for ways that we can continue that work. But it's extremely important and something that our players, coaches, and leadership take very seriously.
We certainly appreciate all the hard work you're doing in the community. So I want to shift gears back to the upcoming season. So changes in the ability to have fans in the stadium during games are certainly warranted given what we know about spreading COVID-19. But it's still disappointing to a lot of us who are looking forward to going to see a game. Just yesterday, you announced that at least for the first few games, public health protocol means that fans will not be permitted inside of M&T Stadium. Can you talk a little bit about what informed that decision and how you'll evaluate when to permit fans to attend games?
Sure. Well, I think, you know, we developed a plan, a health protocol that we were going to follow that would permit just 7,500 fans. It would have been 5,000 fans in the lower bowl, 1,000 fans in the club level, and 1,000 fans in the suites. And we would have kept the upper bowl vacant for the time being, just so we could have a way of getting people efficiently up to the suites in the club level without using the elevators, because the elevators are not big enough. So that was our plan. It involved all fans would have to wear a mask at all times. We had physical distancing, getting lined up. All mobile ticketing, all food would be in a box or in some kind of containers. All transactions would be cashless. So we thought we had a very good plan, and we do have a very good plan. I think, though, that we submitted it to the governor's office and to the mayor's office, and we really were anxious to hear from the health experts for both the governor and the mayor and the public health experts and see what they thought and whether this was an appropriate time to try this. And the public health experts said it was not an appropriate time. They didn't think it was the right time. So we backed off and we listened to them, and we're gonna wait. I think we'll see how, I mean, whether or not we have fans this year is gonna depend entirely on the course of the coronavirus and how it affects our community and really outside our community throughout Maryland. So, I mean, the data, as we all know right now, is going well. I mean, it's sort of going in the right direction, and it's, you know, our positivity rate is below 3.5%, and the number of new tests is below, you know, is getting down. So I think we're going in the right direction, but we're not there yet. So we'll continue to follow it. At some point, we'll again engage with the mayor's office and the governor's office and see what they think. I'm hopeful we're going to have fans this year, but I really don't know. I look around the league, and a lot of teams have not announced yet what they're going to do for certain. But 15 teams as of yesterday had said they're not going to have fans. 5 teams have said they will have fans. Those are the 3 Florida teams and Dallas and Kansas City. So we're waiting to hear from some other teams. But I think that a lot of teams will follow, or will do what we're doing and just wait and hope that as the season goes on, we may be able to have fans. So there's no set criteria that we're looking for. It's really, we need to get the approval of the state and the mayor, and I think rightfully so, they're looking at the health experts and they're going to follow that advice, and we are too. The last thing we want to do is have fans and endanger the fans and our staff. I mean, the game day staff that works for us on game day, it's on a normal game, it's over 3,000 people work for us on game day. A lot of them, if you come to the games, you'll notice they're not always the youngest people. And they're not all of them are in great health, and they've worked for us for 20 years at the stadium. So we have to be very careful about that as well, because no matter how good our protocol is and how effective our rules are, there will be knuckleheads who will not comply with the rules. And we'll take the mask off. That'll require an engagement with someone from the staff. And that's not a safe situation. So we've got to get the infection rate down. We've got to get the numbers going even a better direction. And we have to have a real buy-in from our fan base that they will comply with what are very reasonable rules. So we'll see. So again, wear a mask, everybody, wear a mask. I might say wear a damn mask. I mean, come on.
You can't say it enough, Dick.
I mean, it's just amazing.
So fast forwarding to whenever we get to the point where we do have fans in the stadium, as many people know, M&T Bank Stadium is one of the best stadium experiences in the NFL. And the Ravens recently have made significant upgrades to keep it at the top of the heap. Dick, I've heard you talk before about having to compete with the in-home game day experience, where fans have more choices about traveling to see the game live versus turning in on their big screen TV with fantasy stats and their laptop open and surround sound, et cetera. Can you talk to us a little bit about what's new at the stadium this year that you're excited about? And what
there wasn't going to be too much new this year. I mean, we've invested $120 million in the stadium over the 3 years preceding this year. So we had there's always minor changes, but nothing that would be seeable by the fans. Every year we put a couple million into just cleaning up the infrastructure issues that you can't even see, cracks in the concrete, new carpeting. We'll spend $2 million a year just on fixing cracks in carpeting. But in terms of major things, we're not going to be any new major things this year. We had finished up that $120 million renovation. We have now with that renovation, we have now invested, more than $220 million in our stadium since it opened in 1998. The whole stadium, when it was built, cost $220 million. So we've sort of matched the original construction cost just in improvements. And that's a never-ending process. And that's because the home viewing experience is a good one. And we have to try to match it. one of the things we deferred this year because of COVID-19 was yet another upgrade to Wi-Fi. But assuming that the COVID-19 situation is under control this spring, we will go forward with that project for the 2021 season. Because, you know, using Wi-Fi in a stadium is a little bit like building a highway. You expand the highway, and it's great for about a year, and then everyone goes to the more people start using the highway. Well, that's really what happens at Wi-Fi in a stadium. We have people, I think, are watching movies while they're in our stadium, downloading a movie or something. I mean, no matter how wide we make how broad the capacity becomes, it's never broad enough. So there's yet another upgrade going on, I'm hopeful this off season. We delayed it 1 year because we knew this was going to be unusual. We were not going to have a full capacity. And if it was less than a full capacity, the current Wi-Fi is more than adequate. But everyone, as soon as they get to the stadium, they take out their phone and they're on their phone the whole time. Which is good because now they can get the stats right at the stadium. They don't have to be sitting in front of their television. We have to make our Wi-Fi capacity so good that it's as good as you can get at most homes. And that's what we will do. And that'll be true for the 2021 season.
Thank you. Shalonda, I'm going to shift over to you for a little bit. I know we got a number of questions from our audience, so I want to make sure we get to all of those.
Thank you, Councilman. And I just want to say, Dick, if you continue to expand the Wi-Fi, it should make it up here to the downtown partnership offices. So maybe that's
we've got things out on our parking lots that do that too. You know, we got to expand the capacity in the parking lots because how good can a tailgate be if you can't be on your phone, right?
Exactly. No, I totally agree. So talk a little bit. We have quite a few questions. Many you answered already, which I think is a good thing. But people are talking about, since we're not able to go to the game, fans can't come in. What are your thoughts? Or what are some things that you're considering around fan engagement from a virtual perspective?
Well, what we're still planning all that because we're waiting for final rules from the league, and it's been a very difficult couple of months because everything has to be negotiated with the union and then has to be talked about, and then we get it finally. So we just got the final game day protocol last week, but that did not include a lot of information about music and sound in the stadium. We know that we're planning on having player introductions, and we want to make them available. TV does not show player introductions, so we want to show them virtually, but we don't have approval from the league to do that yet. But I think we'll get that. So we'll be looking at a lot of things like that. I mean, our app, you'll be able to watch the game and parts of the game from our app in terms of different angles, we hope. But again, we don't have all the final rules yet, so we don't really know. When you're watching the TV broadcast, there will be a soundtrack that will not be heard at the stadium, will only be heard by fans watching on television, which will try to replicate the sounds that you would hear at a game at M&T Bank Stadium. That's my understanding. I've not heard the soundtrack yet. They're still working on it. But a lot of things are still up in the air, as amazing as it seems. We're less than 3 weeks from our home opener now, and we still don't have some information about some key items yet, but I think we'll get it later this week, and we'll be ready to go. And as soon as we know what we can do, we will announce it. I think, it's amazing over the years, fan engagement is so much driven by our own digital media platforms. Our app plus Facebook and Twitter. Last year, in the whole league of the 32 teams, we were #1 in terms of videos viewed on Ravens Twitter of all 32 teams. So our social media effort is really strong and good, and it's a way we keep engaged with our fans. We've got a great training camp show we do while training camp is going, while practice is ongoing. You can go online and watch that, and it's a way to stay engaged since, unfortunately, we cannot have fans out here for practice. I mean, I'm looking out over my computer out to the field, and there's lots of players out there and a handful of media who are socially distanced and away from the players, but no fans. So it's very quiet. It's very strange. We usually have so much energy at training camp. Heather will bring in community groups and youth football teams and fans, and now we don't have any. So it's strange, but we're working at it. And as soon as we have news on exactly what we can do virtually, we will let our fans know.
Which is good. Thank you so much. I know some of what you're talking about also lends itself to what motivates the players. Like I can imagine them being there and feeling the energy of the fan base as well. I know with the NBA, they're trying to figure that out as well. I saw they had screens of allowing fans to come in. So just thinking of other ways to also motivate the players, I guess, is going to be a big deal as well.
It is going to be very different, and I think it's, football is obviously a very game filled with passion and emotion, and our players do get really psyched up by the crowd. And when we go on the road, we draw energy from the hostility of the crowd. So it's good, even on the road, that there's so much emotion, passion, and there's no greater feeling if you're a football player in Pittsburgh than to make the crowd go quiet. When we score a touchdown that breaks open the game or breaks their heart, like Troy Smith's touchdown reception during the 2011 regular season at the end of that game, they thought they had the game won. The crowd was going crazy. Troy catches the ball, touchdown, game over. The crowd is absolutely silent. The only thing you can hear is our players cheering. It's incredible. That's what we all live for. Now, we won't have that this year, so we'll have to come up with other ways. But, even in practice, when there's no crowd out here, the players get very, very competitive, offense versus defense. So they'll get up. Plus, I think they're very young, and there's lots of emotion, and I don't think it ever gets old for them.
No, I would definitely agree with that. We have a couple questions I'm going to combine into one because we have several businesses, one a boutique, one a consulting firm, a transportation company. There are a number of businesses, some who offer, virtual event experiences. And Heather, I'm not sure if this comes your way, but what they're trying to figure out is how do they know which opportunities will be available with the Ravens coming up, and how do they access those opportunities?
I mean, we are still sorting all of that out. We're definitely looking at, several ways, as Dick mentioned, for fans to stay engaged, for organizations to stay engaged. Just because we can't physically be out in the community or physically have fans at our games doesn't mean we're trying, it certainly means we're going to stay connected. It's just how that looks. There's still a lot of things that are being sorted out. I think our website's a great hub for a lot of information, as well as social media, but we're putting a lot of information on there, just with regards to, various ways for fans to, get involved. We've been working with the United Way, so there's ways that we might be able to get fans to volunteer with us, kind of building off of some of the stuff we did last year with our Huddle for 100 and call to action. So it's going to look a little different, but there's definitely going to be lots of ways to do that. How game day looks, and we're obviously working on engaging sponsors of ours and partners of ours, that we can still have happen. So it's ongoing. There's a lot of work that I know is being done with that. I'd say definitely kind of keep checking on, follow our social media accounts, because there's a lot of information that we have on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. Our website's a great hub as well, with a lot of information for people to connect to and follow. But they can always reach out to us too, and via email or calling us and getting in touch with somebody in the organization, because we're happy to answer those questions too.
Which is good. Thank you. With that, just so that, and I know we've been putting some things in the chat for businesses who are interested, is there an email or contact that they should follow if they're looking to do business with the Ravens?
Yeah, we have a whole team that's happy to kind of talk through, different opportunities. There's a contact us link on our website, that if anybody wants to reach out, we can get that to our corporate sales team and just kind of really work through, what opportunities look like and where things fit in. They would be more than happy to work with anybody who's reaching out about that.
No, perfect. Thank you. This one is probably an idea, and Dick and Heather, maybe they say it in the form of a question, but it says, any plans for fake fans in the stadium, or to let people purchase cutouts of themselves to see on TV? Maybe donate the money to one of the great community efforts you have.
We are trying to work through that. We're looking for some guidance from the league. It's something we want to do, and I think we will do. But again, we need to get permission from the league to do it, and under what circumstances we can do it. But we've talked a lot about having cutouts, and people pay for the cutouts, and we donate the money to charity. So I think that's something we will do if we can pull it off.
Sounds good. This question, not sure if you would know it, but it's going back. Why are the fans allowed at games decided at the state level and not league mandated? And they put kind of jealous of the Dolphins and Chief fans right now. Can't wait to be back.
Well, the league, the league made a decision. I mean, it's in part a financial decision. The key part of any team's revenue are ticket sales, suite sales, and sponsorships. And when you don't, now we're going to retain if we have no fans at all this year, obviously we lose all of our ticket revenue, we lose all of our suite revenue, and we lose some of our sponsorship revenue. We lose all of our parking revenue and all of our concessions revenue. So it's a large financial blow. And I think the league decided that, from a competitive standpoint, it'd be better to have a uniform rule. But if you had a uniform rule, it'd mean you'd go to the lowest common denominator. There probably will be some teams this year, and maybe it'll be the Ravens, I hope not, that are not allowed to have fans at all. So if one team was not allowed to have fans, no teams could. So the league made the decision, we might as well try to get as much revenue as we can from fans. And so if one team can do it and have fans and other teams can't, you could argue there's a competitive disadvantage, but I think it's outweighed by the fact that we need the revenue. It's like all businesses, if you can and this is a bad situation for everybody, and if you can manage to make some revenue out of it, we should let other teams do it. So we may play it, like our first 2 away games this year are going to be in stadiums where fans are not allowed, against Houston and against Washington. But at some point, we're going to go to a stadium in a situation where there may be fans, and we haven't yet had fans. So, but we'll manage. As I said, we'll draw from the energy of the hostility, and that works pretty well. We don't mind that. So it's not over years, I think teams have become much more effective at dealing with fan noise in an away game, and we know how to do it. We're comfortable with it. I don't think it's going to phase us at all, honestly. So I agree with the decision the league made. Revenue is important. It's important to us. It's jobs for people who work at the stadium. It means it's not a minor thing. It's not something to just give up freely. And it's made at the state level because Governor Hogan issued a directive that said, basically, so far, that he doesn't want fans at sporting events, professional sporting events. And I know what he would love to have fans at our games, but at the same time, he's going to listen to the medical advisors.
No, it makes perfect sense. To expand, I think there are some of the questions coming in are trying to figure out ways to get people engaged. Some you're probably thinking of, some I know you've already mentioned. But this question is, are there opportunities for virtual corporate events with the Ravens this year in lieu of attending the games in person?
We will have remote events. I mean, Heather can talk about it from a community standpoint. We'll do school events we've done that with players. Our players this year will not be able to go into the community. And it's really, we don't want anybody who's here in the building to go in the community either. I mean, it's so critically important that those of us here in the building be very, very careful as long as the virus is present in the community. So we're committed really not to do anything except be here and go home to our families and come back here. But that doesn't mean we can't do things remotely, and we will, and we can have, and I know Heather's got some events planned. I think marketing has some events planned to kick off the season. And so we're going to get out there as much as we can, and we'll do things remotely. But it's going to be hard to have in-person get-togethers. I mean, even right now, the city doesn't even permit it. Really, I think you can't have more. I think it's 25 at a gathering, something like that, currently in the city. So, but we can do things remotely, and we do have events planned, and we'll be as active as we can. Heather, I don't know if you want to add anything on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just, to echo Dick's sentiments, I think, we know that there's challenges, and we know this is obviously a really just unusual time for everybody. And, we have a dedication to staying healthy, to making sure that the team is able to play. Again, going back to, some of our efforts and our focuses are on that. So, that's priority number one. Yet again, we really try to also prioritize staying connected to the community and serving our fans. And that's going to be something that will look a little different this year, but is certainly not going to be lacking. I mean, we're going to be creating ways, whether it's, again, virtual volunteer opportunities that we're doing, that we're inviting fans to come join us, or whether it's getting players to, crash somebody's Zoom call on their school, if a teacher would let us disrupt everything, we can do that. We already have been doing a lot of that this spring, and it's stuff that we're going to continue to do. Marketing, as Dick said, has some really cool ideas as well, just again, to stay engaged. So things will look a little different, but we're certainly not slowing down on that commitment, and just looking to, recreate new ideas and come up with different strategies, but certainly will be something we continue this season.
Which is good. So we have a couple, thank you. We have a couple shout outs that go, Dick, it was one that came in for you pretty early on that thanked you for being a kidney donor, and that came from another kidney donor. So thank you for that. You all got a shout out for mentioning and recognizing the concessions and security staff there, talking about you guys are one team. I think so often people only think externally and not about what it takes to really make your organization function, and those people being number one.
We really realized, on game day, it used to be, we've got these contractors that work for us. We hire them, and their employees then work for us on game day. And we realized, it was probably 6 years ago or so, we did all sorts of surveying, and we'd be much better off to recognize them as Ravens employees. Even though they're not technically our employee, we brand them as our employees. We put them in Ravens shirts and Ravens hats, and we tell them, and we really mean it, because we treated them that way, that they're part of our team, part of one effort. And our fan engagement group down at the stadium, led by Rich Tamayo, does a wonderful job in the training exercises and in bringing them together. In the last 2 years, literally last year, we had the highest rating. Well, there's a dispute whether we're number one or number two. We claim we're number one, but there's these fan surveys that are done after every game at all league games. And everybody gets graded on everything, from entry to food to the friendliness of your staff and the effectiveness of your game day staff. And last year we were number one, I think. I mean, another team claims they were number one. It's a dispute about the numbers. But in any event, we were either one or two. And I think it's a testament to the efforts we've made in the 5 or 6 years. And we have a wonderful group of people who work for us on game day and really do a great job of making people feel welcome. And when I hear from a lot of visiting teams how nice our staff is on game day. So it's a testament to them. And again, some of these men and women have worked for us every game since we opened in 1998. And I'm not getting any younger, but they're not getting any younger either. We have to be very careful with them as well.
Definitely a blessing to have those type team members. So kudos for that. Two more questions. One quick in the form of a web address. It looks like this is actually coming from my cousin, Jetta, but what is the web address for the marketing team regarding virtual school visits?
So, I mean, there's not necessarily like a sign up. We actually have a lot of really great relationships with the different school systems, so the Baltimore City school system and then the surrounding counties. We are already very engaged in those schools. We actually have a Play 60 program that encourages kids to be active at least 60 minutes a day. And that's a program that we run in all Baltimore County, Carroll County, and Howard County schools currently, elementary schools. So, we just have a lot of really great connections that there's not necessarily a sign up. And again, they're more than happy to send us an email, and we'll certainly take it into consideration. But really just working with the schools to say what makes sense for you. Because again, we don't want it to be taking away, I mean, this is already going to be a tough year for schools, for teachers, for students. You know, we don't want to disrupt anything more, you know, but I think that there's fun ways that we can incorporate. You know, we had Poe do a lot of things, and you know, he's doing Simon Says, and you know, doing math and things like that with you know, some of the students in the spring. That type of stuff we're looking to continue. If we can get a player to jump on board and talk about his love for reading or his love for math, that, you know, hopefully will resonate with some students. That's some stuff that we're looking at. You know, so I mean, they're more than happy to shoot us an email through, contact us, but really we're already kind of working on that on the back end to see, you know, how we can strategically do it, how often. And again, we're working off of, you know, a pretty strict schedule that the guys have. So, you know, balancing it all together, but I'm sure there's going to be, you know, some opportunities for various things throughout the season, as long as, you know, we're able to, for sure.
Heather, can you recall how many school visits we made last year in a normal year?
Like in person, in season, in person. Yeah. So I mean, generally we make probably, I'd say maybe 20 to 30 school visits in season. So in those 4 months, you know, and that's again, through various things, a lot of, and that's not just players. I mean, that's, we also have a great alumni group of players that are legends that we are able to utilize in some things. You know, so our efforts, I mean, we definitely do a lot of support for the schools. Again, primarily Baltimore City, you know, but also the counties, and just really trying to, you know, we do school visits consistently on Purple Fridays, and, you know, getting people excited for the games. And then, you know, being able to get into schools, whether it's promoting, you know, like a Play 60 initiative. We handed out bikes, you know, last year to encourage kids to be active and healthy. So, I mean, lots of different things, as well as players and their own initiatives, you know, and that's one thing that I haven't really stressed enough yet. But, you know, we talk about the great leadership that this organization has, but there's also a lot of great guys that are coming to us and saying, hey, Heather, I'm really passionate about this. What can I do? You know, Brandon Carr was a guy last year that we had that had this incredible foundation with a literacy program. And he was consistently in schools and, you know, just really trying to get out. And that's something that was his passion. Guys are very passionate about, you know, handing out turkeys at Thanksgiving. And, you know, that's something that we'll go to a school and make sure that, you know, we can really kind of be there in the heart of the community to say, hey, you know, we have these available if you're able to stop by. And so again, for us to have the relationships with all kinds of schools, you know, all across our state is important, because these opportunities sometimes aren't even something that we're orchestrating. And it's something that our guys are saying, hey, let's do this. And our job is to make sure we can do everything we can to ensure that their goals with that type of stuff can certainly happen.
No, thank you. Thank you. Councilman, I'm going to come back to you, but as I'm transitioning to you, Heather and Dick, I want to ask this one last question as it's coming over, and it is, any plans for a new Ravens dance, a chant, a virtual pep rally? What are those things that our fans can look to expect?
You know, they are, I mean, marketing is working on something, you know, like a pep rally and a kickoff event. And I don't know when that's going to happen, and I don't know when they're going to announce it, but they're working hard on it. I can't tell you how hard it is to figure all these things out and to make an event that's going to be fun and broad-based enough, but they're working on it. And again, they're going to probably be working with alumni players rather than our current active players. We've got a lot of players who come back to Baltimore. They tend not to live here, but they do come back frequently. And when they come back, they're active in things with the organization, but they're also active in the community. I mean, a lot of our guys, I mean, Ed Reed is a guy that I always think of, because he was always, I mean, Booker T. Washington Middle School, he's been active. He was active there as a player every year he was here, and he continues to be active after he left. Jonathan Ogden does things in the community. Bart Scott comes back and does things. Torrey Smith, fortunately for us, has moved back into the area and is very, very active in the community. And he led our group of players who selected these recipients of the $1 million social justice fund that came from the Ravens and the Bashadi Foundation. So, and we're fortunate to have him back, and he's already very active in the community and remained active even when he was out in San Francisco and Philadelphia and Carolina. Now he's back home, which is great.
Which is good. Thank you so much. Councilman, did you have any final thoughts? I know we want to thank Heather and Dick tremendously for your time.
Thank you
for
so
having
much
us.
for being here with us today. Heather, thanks for everything that the Ravens organization continues to do in our community. Certainly a proud spot for Baltimore City to have the Ravens play here. Dick, certainly wishing you all the best of luck this year. Hope you have a great season, and hope everyone stays healthy, and really
Hope so
look
too.
forward to watching the first game.
Thank you very much. We're going to have a good season. We all believe that out here, believe me.
We are.
Thank you again for having us, and good luck to everybody on the call, and stay healthy.
Stay positive, test negative. We got it. So thank you, right, for everybody.
Wear a mask.
Wear a mask, yes.
Wear a mask, exactly.
Wear a mask.
I want to thank Mike Evans on our team, Nicole Rohr, my board chair, Mark Wasserman, once again for everything that they're doing to help Downtown Partnership thrive. Thank you to everyone. Please remember you can visit our website, godowntownbaltimore.com for more information, or follow us socially. So we'll see you next week on Downtown Download. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks all.
Thank you.